Hi everyone, we are in our final little reflection and conversation on Emmaus, the walk that changed everything. Hope you've been enjoying it. If you've been tracking with us up to this point, if you're jumping in right here in the final one, then I would just encourage you, why don't you take a moment, if you haven't already done so, read the story of the two disciples on the road to Emmaus from Luke 24, verse 13 onwards, and then just familiarize yourself with that, and then come back and we will reflect together. So we're jumping into this beautiful, in terms of our conversation, climactic moment, and it is a real glorious moment in our story. It's a beautiful tipping point moment, but it also represents another awkward wee conversation. So we've already seen an awkward moment where, though Jesus drew alongside them, they were kept from recognizing him. Literally, their eyes were held, and we've had a wee conversation about that. Now we come to another gorgeous paradoxical moment. And again, there's a little bit of symmetry here when you look at that early awkward moment, the symmetry between Jesus drawing near and yet holding their eyes really does reflect on this paradoxical moment, because in verses 28 to 29, it says these gorgeous words. See if you can spot the sort of similarity and the paradox. It says this: as they, that's the three of them, approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued as if he were going farther. But they urged him strongly, stay with us, for it is nearly evening. The day is almost over. And then we get this gorgeous phrase, so he went in to stay with them. Now, I don't know if you noticed that, you spot that, but you've got this. Jesus has joined them. He's spent the guts of 7 miles talking to them. And in that time, he has unpacked the scriptures, what we call the Old Testament. He's been unpacking himself in the scriptures, which is a whole conversation on its own. And as he's done that, their hearts have burned within them. And then we get to the village and you think, well, this is the obvious moment for like Jesus to land the conversation, right? And to finish what he started. But then you get this awkward moment again, this paradoxical moment that even though Jesus is heavily into this conversation and we know why he's joined the two, he acts as if he is going farther. Oh my goodness, what's going on there? What's happening there? And again, when you hit those awkward moments, we should ask, what is happening there? It does look like Jesus is acting. He is pretending to go further. Now, there's a possible cultural answer to this question in that people may argue that a first century Jewish person would never be so bold enough as to invite himself into your house. So even if he wanted to go to your house, he wouldn't invite himself. He would wait for the invitation and therefore has to almost act as if they're not going in so that they will be invited in. And certainly some people may argue that what you're seeing in these verses is just good Jewish cultural protocol and good Jewish hospitality. And I would have absolutely no problem with that at all. Except, I think the text itself is nudging for a deeper conversation. And it's nudging, I think, on two levels. The first level is this. We know, not at this moment, chronologically, but we know a little bit later on, a few verses later, we know that at this moment, the hearts of these two disciples are burning inside them. Now, when we reach the point at Emmaus, we don't know that. We're just following the chronology of the story. It's when Jesus reveals himself, opens their eyes, and then when he's disappeared, they go, were not our hearts burning within us when he opened up the scriptures? So we are now putting a bit of detective work together. We're realizing that by the time they get to Emmaus, and Jesus has been unpacking this amazing sermon, their hearts are burning inside them. So their heads are going, we're pretty certain Jesus is dead, and yet their hearts are burning as Jesus presents the scriptures to them. Now we've got to hold that thought because then if we weave that into the story, then maybe, just maybe, their desire to invite Jesus into their house is not simply because they're being good Jewish people offering hospitality in the first century world, but it's because something's burning inside them. And they want to respond to that. The second clue in the text is in the language that is being used. It says, they urged him strongly. Now, this is so magnificent. The NIV Bible, the ESV Bible translate that phrase, they urged him strongly. The Complete Word Study Bible translates the phrase, but they constrained him. And then the Complete Jewish Bible by David Stern, his translation translates it, they held him back. Now, can you hear the echo? Can you hear the echo of the previous awkward moment where their eyes were held? And now we're hearing sort of, if we interpret it properly, sort of slightly aggressive language when it comes to inviting Jesus in here. We're getting a bit of symmetry in this story. We're not only getting two paradoxes, but we're getting two senses of action that have energy and urgency and passion at the heart of it. Now, when we put those two ideas together, I think we're not just seeing two people invite Jesus in because it's hospitality. I think they're responding to something deeper. We're not just seeing politeness here. Let me put it this way. This is not just being polite. This is passion. This is passion coming out. And I think then when you see Jesus acting as if he's going further, he is probing, not for politeness. Hey, it'd be nice to be invited in for a glass of wine and a bit of bread, right? No. He's probing for passion. He knows their hearts are burning inside them. He wants to know what they will do. Now, again, see the symmetry? When their eyes are held, what does he want to know? He wants to know what they know. Now that he's pretending to go a little bit further, awkward moment, he wants to know what they will do. He knows their hearts are burning inside them. He knows that's going on. And so he acts as if he's going further to see, will you follow the burning of your heart or the logic of your brain? The logic of your brain says Jesus is dead. The burning of your heart is suggesting something else. And will you follow the burning heart and invite him in? Now, Jesus wants to be invited in. He's desperate for them to invite him in. But he wants to know, do you want me to come in? And again, that similarity. Now, one last little reflection from the text, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. When they say, stay with us, in the language of Dr. Luke is using imperative language. In other words, it's the closest thing to a command that you can get without commanding someone. They can't command Jesus, you must come into my house, right? But they are urging him strongly. They are, with imperative language, they're almost commanding him. Now, if I were to take the verbal language and sort of give you a physical example, it would be like verbally, they are grabbing Jesus by the lapels, and they're sort of saying, please come in, you must come into our house. Now they can't make him come in, but they are urging him to come in. And if the first encounter awkward moment was about honesty, this second awkward moment is about hunger. This is about, what do you want? What do you want? Are you going to follow the burning of your heart, or are you going to follow the logic of your brain? If you follow the burning of your heart, you're about to open yourself up to the possibility of a transformational experience, which actually happens. Because they open up their hearts, they open up their homes. Because they open up their home, they open up their table. And because they open up their table, Jesus becomes the host of the meal, and it's over the table. Their eyes are opened, and they recognized him. But that possibility of seeing him happens because they respond. And they say to him, as he's acting to go further, stay with us, don't go, please go, please stay, please stay with us. And I love this. Again, this is a beautiful, unique story, but remember, it fits with a macro story. And the macro story of Scripture is this, that wherever God is invited, he comes. Whenever there is hunger and thirst, he satisfies. Whenever we draw near to him, he draws near to us. Whenever we open up our heart, he accepts the invitation and comes in. Whenever we make room at the table, he sits down at the table. This is the MO of our God. This is the MO of the God of love, compassion, humility, loving kindness, and faithfulness. He responds. He not only draws near, as we've seen on the road already, but he responds to the invitation. And this is a biblical MO of our God. But secondly, it's also an MO of the Jesus of Luke's gospel, right? If you track Luke's version of Jesus, you'll find an amazing thing. Every single time someone extended an invitation to Jesus, without exception, Jesus said yes. He went to the house of Pharisees. He went to the house of sinners. He went to the house of tax collectors. He went to the house of ordinary people like Martha and Mary and Lazarus. He walks into people's homes. He even, on one occasion, invites himself into somebody's home, a chief tax collector called Zacchaeus. Jesus is open to the invitation. He's essentially saying, as he walks across the earth, I am the God who loves to say yes. If you will extend the invitation to me, I will come in. And this is a glorious place for us to conclude our conversation, is that this is a God who wants to be invited in, a God who sometimes in moments of our journey will create a burning within us to see what we will do with that burning. Are we going to be polite and just do like the right thing? Or are we going to be passionate and grab him and go for him and invite him and bring him into our world? And here's the remarkable thing, just as a little practical aside. If these two disciples live here and they've been away from home, then the house might be empty or the fire might not be lit yet. The bread certainly hasn't been baked yet and there's no food on the table. So when Jesus comes in, he has to hang around. He hangs around waiting for the bread to be baked. He hangs around waiting for the food to be prepared. He hangs around in the ordinariness of their world. He brings himself to where they are. This is one of the most remarkable things about the God of the Bible. This is one of the most remarkable things about the incarnated Son of God. He who is other draws near, and the one who draws near to us also responds to our invitation to him. One of the things that I think the Lord's looking for in you, in me, in us, as a community of faith, is invitations. He's looking for me and you to say, Lord, come in, stay with us, don't go. Now I know, in one sense, he's with us already. I get that. We believe that, right? He'll never leave you and he'll never forsake you. So we accept that idea. So don't hear what I'm not saying. But at an intimate life level, there are moments in your life where he's looking for passion. He's looking for the invitation. He's looking for the moment when we're moving beyond the theological truth. The Lord is with us. And he's looking for hearts to say, Lord, stay with us. Don't go. I think worship is, Lord, stay with us, don't go. I think when you linger over the Bible, stay with us, don't go. I think it's when you and I move beyond what's expected of us and move into what he wants from us. I think that's us saying, stay with us. And I don't know about you. Can I just speak for myself in my journey? There have been moments when I have felt the burning of the Lord's word presence in my heart. And I've discovered in those moments when I respond to the burning, when I respond to something that's going on inside me, even if my brain at that moment doesn't fully understand it, but I respond to him, respond to his prompting, respond to the burning, respond to the invitation. I have discovered in my journey, and I think it lines up with this journey, and I think this journey lines up with the Bible journey, that when we respond to the burning moments, he comes in. And in the moments where he comes in, we give him, can I say this reverently, carefully? We give him permission to do what only he can do. In a few moments after this invitation was issued, Jesus breaks the bread. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. As he broke the bread, as he gave thanks for it, as he blessed it, as he gave it to them, their eyes were opened. And one of the most glorious transformational moments in the Gospels takes place. Two people who were convinced he was dead had their eyes opened and they recognized him. Two people could never unsee what they saw that day. Two people could never unknow what they now know. Two people's direction of travel would be changed for the rest of their lives. In fact, the text tells us they get up immediately and return at once to Jerusalem. Their energies change, their direction changes, their confession changes. We have seen the Lord. But all of that became possible because they said to him, stay with us. There will be moments in your journey when your heart burns and your head can't make sense of it, and the Lord wants to know, what will you do? And in those moments, I want to urge you, brothers and sisters, grab him. Say to him, stay with us. Invite him into the intimacy of your world and being. Allow him to be the host at the table. And I believe if we do that, we open up our lives, families, and futures to a possibility of receiving something that is greater and bigger and better than anything we could have imagined. I pray that on your journey, you will allow the humble-hearted Savior to draw near to you. You will open up your heart to receive the words that he wants to give to you. And maybe you, in turn, will invite him into the intimacy of your world and allow him to sit at your table and host your life.